Thanks for being brave enough to join me on the stage, Mike and Peter. Thanks for that introduction and that really inspiring kind of industry overview, July. It's actually stolen some of the words that I was going to use in my intro. But I think, you know, I want to kind of start the conversation with you, Mike, around, you know, being a participant, a miner. So I'm not a miner, so I'm going to ask the miner for all the answers. Being a participant in the industry, July has spoken about the fact that he can hand on heart say 2050 coal will still be a key part of the energy mix. What are your views and your perspectives around the current and the future coal market as an industry participant?
As an industry participant, I'm not a miner, I'm an imposter.
Okay.
The coal mining industry, I started in this industry 1999, and it's been 100 years now. Having worked in this industry, I had an opportunity in 2012 to leave the industry completely when Glencore bought our business Optimum. But I believed in coal.
Yeah.
And I still believe in coal. And I still believe that beyond 2040, you still burn some coal in several power stations. And I'm confident if you came to me tomorrow with a compelling story to invest in any coal venture, I will consider it.
Sure.
I'm not walking away.
Okay.
So I believe in coal.
Yeah.
I believe that there are opportunities for us to improve on how we mine coal. There are opportunities for us to improve and look at technologies that would help us in burning coal. And that doesn't make me an environmental denialist. I believe in coal, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And, you know, as you know, this is, as July said, the last meeting as coal miners. We're going to be talking more about energy transition and kind of clean, green energy. If you kind of reflect back on Seriti and how Seriti Resources kind of came about, right, with a number of coal assets coming together to form this formidable organization, how do you see kind of the long-term place in the industry and sector for Seriti, both as a coal player, but also in the energy transition journey?
So the first set of assets that we acquired to create Seriti were the assets that belong to Anglo American. And those were the mines called New Denmark, Krill, New Val, and a project called New Lago that we will develop to supply coal to Kusile, hopefully concluding those contracts sooner. The second part was to buy assets from South 32. Those assets fitted very well with our assets with Anglo. Why? Because they were bringing the export portion of the business. So we were supplying domestic and exports. It became important for us then to think about the future of coal. And we said, do we stay as pure coal and as a coal mining company? And as part of our strategy, we decided that we are an energy business. We're not a coal business. We want to play in the energy space. And what that means is that there are opportunities for us to either build more coal mines, which we are continuing. We're building 2 coal mines. We're busy with the licensing at the moment, which means we're not walking away from coal. But as we expand our coal portfolio, there are opportunities to look at to make Seriti an energy business. Hence, we started looking around, and we were fortunate to come across an asset called Wind Lab, which Peter Venn came with. Peter was the CEO. We had a conversation. We shook hands, and the transaction happened. It's not by sheer accident. Number 2, there's no greenwashing. Bernard has got an electric car in his garage, probably is not greenwashing. So the plan was for us to look at opportunities to make us as a formidable and versatile player in the energy space. That is why Seriti today is an energy business. And we invested in wind. And Peter is active at the moment looking for opportunities to grow his business in the renewable space, which means he may look at solar. He may look at expanding with wind as well. So that's how Seriti is all about today.
Okay. So maybe just to double click on, the coal business for a second, and particularly around, as participants in the industry, making those better choices, strategic choices around, how you're contributing to the environmental impact, or actually kind of mitigating the environmental impact. What are some of the things that you're considering as a coal player around decarbonizing your operations and kind of greening the operations? I think July spoke a bit around, the technology, carbon capture technology, and et cetera. But what are you looking at as Seriti around, taking that active role as a responsible coal miner?
It may be simple for somebody to say, we don't burn coal, we mine it. But for me, we're looking for opportunities to decarbonize, it's true. One, there are scope 1 emissions, scope 2 and scope 3, but let me be general, and Peter will touch on that later. The electricity that's going to be generated out of the wind farm that we're building in Bethel and Mokenzon in Mpumalanga, 155 megawatts of that is going to be taken by Seriti.
Okay.
So we're going to use that as Seriti. We are the first customer for Peter.
Sure.
The second part, I'm actively looking at opportunities in terms of our core mining activities, areas where we can improve. Several people are talking about electric trucking. A lot of people are looking at hydrogens, fuel cells. We are actively looking for opportunities in those areas. But the first big start for us is to say, can we take the electricity that's called green electricity or from a renewable source? And that 155 megawatts will come handy for us as Seriti to use that to show that we are actively looking at opportunities to decarbonize.
Sure. All right. So maybe coming to you, Peter, being the captain of the Seriti Green ship now, being part of the Seriti Resources group, what is your outlook on the just energy transition journey? That's a very big question, but keen to get your thoughts.
Yeah, no, thank you, and good morning to everybody. I think, energy transition, we can debate the energy transition with regards to the energy mix. All countries are going to have an energy mix that has multiple generation technologies. July mentioned how much coal China's building, but last year China built 2/3 of the global solar and wind in one country. So it's around a mix. Far more important for us as Seriti is the just part. We're the only people building on-grid utilities in Mpumalanga, and it's really about bringing industry into Mpumalanga. It's about growing jobs. If we can leave you with one message, it's not renewables or coal, it's renewables and coal. And we're a living embodiment of this just transition. I think it was 3 weeks ago, Mike, we took water from New Denmark and we're using that to construct the wind farm. So we've got this circular economy. 10% of my staff come out of the coal mining sector. Now we're never going to replace 1,500, 2,000 people from a coal mine. Yeah. But we're doing our best to employ people, cross-skill, upskill as we go forward. We're improving public infrastructure at the Port of Richards Bay, the roads in Mpumalanga, to bring turbines, to bring transformation into the country. We're improving the Eskom transmission grid by building new substations in Mpumalanga, building the biggest substation in the last 20 years, R1 billion in Mpumalanga. So the just part is something that we work on intensely. We have a Seriti Green Skills Hub, 6,800 people are participating on that. Mike was driving the truck simulator on site last week in trying to increase jobs as we go forward. So it's around an energy mix. It's about improving Seriti's Scope 2 emissions with regards to electricity and green electricity. And it's around investing. This first project of ours, when complete, will represent 25 billion rand investment in the province of Mpumalanga.
All right. And when you look at kind of the end-to-end ecosystem around renewable energy, and you're kind of really leading the charge for Seriti in that space, how do you see the role of technology in either kind of enabling or throttling progress? Is technology really playing a real role in accelerating, the journey around deploying renewable energy solutions or infrastructure?
Absolutely, and it's very hard to just pinpoint a couple. July mentioned 100 years for wind turbines, but really the improvement on wind turbines in the last 10 years has been around material sciences. You know, we have gone from 1 megawatt turbines in 2013 to now you can comfortably deploy an 8 megawatt turbine, so 8 times growth. But it's fundamentally about the material science. We now have towers in Mpumalanga of 130 meters, and the blades are 91 meters. So moving those blades from Richards Bay to Bethel is a difficult project, right?
Yeah.
And getting that. So that's one part of the technology is getting the larger turbines. Artificial intelligence, particularly in our business, plays an important part and has played since 1998 when WindLab was founded on the back of wind artificial intelligence, finding the best wind. Our construction team lives in Bethel. There's very little wind. You drive to site 20 kilometers away and there's lots of wind. So just like coal resource, you know, you need to go where the wind is. And this is a bit of a challenge often in that where is the wind and how does that move forward. We've got a challenge in the Northern Cape where we've got brilliant wind, brilliant solar irradiation, but there's no demand and the transmission doesn't exist. So do we build transmission lines in the Northern Cape or do we bring wind and solar into Mpumalanga where the jobs are required? These are challenges. And as Mike's mentioned, there's electric vehicles and lots of other technologies.
Yeah.
The last technology that I want to mention is battery storage. I think battery storage is going to play a big role as we move to deploying renewables moreover throughout the economy, whether it's at the supply side or at the demand side. We're going to be seeing a large role for batteries as we go forward. We're already seeing the big impact of solar PV in the country. We're having lesser demand during the day because most people have deployed solar PV at their houses, and those that can do embedded generation have deployed solar PV. But what that leads is to a huge shortage of generation in the peak hours, and we need to focus on that. So storage technology, whether it's pump storage, batteries, is going to play a big part as we move forward.
Sure. So perhaps we can talk about, and you touched on it a little bit around, you know, the logistics end of getting, you know, material in, kind of supporting the wind farm construction, but also wanted to touch on that as well with you, Mike, around the traditional, the core coal business, and particularly as you talk about, you know, you're investing in new mining operations, you have, you know, these strong resources or operations that are feeding the export market. We know in South Africa, the logistics end of it can be quite challenging and quite tricky, particularly as you look at, you know, getting product out in the ports, for example. What are some of the logistical challenges as Seriti, as a core coal mining organization that you're having to navigate at the moment, and how are you kind of overcoming some of those logistical challenges?
Well, the first thing Peter touched on was the fact that I asked the question about moving the wind turbines from Richards Bay to our site in Mpumalanga. It's going to be a massive logistic challenge, but I believe we're going to find a solution. We have a solution on that.
Yeah.
But if you look at our exports, the challenge that we're dealing with now, and we are trying our best to find a solution, is assisting Transnet.
Yeah.
The numbers are clear that today, as I speak to you, the capacity with Transnet to export coal out of the different mines to Richards Bay, it's probably around 50 million tons. I'm talking about the rate per annum. If it's 50 million tons, the best scenario that we're dreaming of is 75, 78, 79. We would love to go to 75, but we're not going to watch. One, how do we work with Transnet and assist in ensuring that they become efficient on the rail line?
Yeah.
Two, how do we assist Transnet understanding the problems dealing with locomotives, dealing with signaling, dealing with the rail line, dealing with security and the like? We have to come to the party. One of the challenges that I've seen with us as a country is that we have the capacity, we have the people, we have the skills. We tend to suffer from what I call persuasion fatigue, where we debate things for a long time and we don't act. And right now, Transnet is a big challenge. And then internally, domestically, I think the trucking routes are there to truck coal to power stations by Eskom. But that is, again, complemented by building mines and ensuring that if you have infrastructure that you build, you include things like conveyor infrastructure.
Yeah.
So conveying coal from mines to power stations play an important role as
Yeah,
well. But
yeah.
right now, at the center is, if the coal mining industry, Bernard and July were talking earlier about exports, if the coal prices were to go to $200, where we are right now, I would be worried. We would love to move from the 50 million tons of rail rate now to 75. And that will be reasonable for this industry to create value, to create more jobs and make money. Yeah.
And I'd imagined a lot of kind of, as you were talking, resolving the logistical issues is a role that requires organizations like yourself and the state to really come together.
Yes.
My sister actually worked at Medupi during the kind of the build of
Yeah.
Medupi, and she was living in Lephalale. And I would go visit her every so often. And I tell you, because of, kind of the traffic of the trucks kind of carrying coal along some of that route as well, the driving experience as a civilian was not pleasant. And so you can imagine that, transporting, large contingents of coal on that road makes it even more difficult logistically as well. So I would expect and really suspect that as a participant in the market that you're also looking into how does organizations like yourselves invest in road infrastructure that supports the logistical needs of your organization.
You must look at the 3 clusters that the government has put together to work with the private sector on security, the National Logistics Coordinating Committee, and on energy. And I believe those 3, if they are not broken down, in other words, let's allow them to achieve results and let's implement the results that they're coming with. The second one is, I believe the leadership of Transnet today, they've got a chairman, they've got a CEO, they've got the teams, allow those teams to do their job. Sure. My concern, and it's a message that I'm passing countrywide, is that let's not change leadership quickly. Allow them to do their job. I think the teams that are at Eskom now, the teams that we have at Transnet, let's allow them to deliver on those things, but obviously guided by those 3 structures that are working with the government, which encourages private sector and government to work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Mike, sorry, Peter, just coming back to you on Seriti Green as a business. Mike mentioned earlier that the wind farm facilities that you're establishing are the first kind of customer is Seriti Resources. What are the other areas of the market that you're targeting to kind of supply in as other potential customers for Seriti Green?
Yeah, thank you. Some of them are sitting here, so I'll be available out the back when we're done, right?
I don't see. Yeah, okay, Seriti is there, but not Seriti Green. No free advertising.
Yeah, so it's a good question, and I think there's a lot of discussion around this space. I think, firstly, there's the big industrial users, big mines that need electricity. I mean, if you've got the land mass, please do embedded generation, deploy your solar energy, but there's only so much that you can do, and the sun only shines for half of the 24 hours, right? So you need something in the rest of it. So, we can comfortably offer a solution for far cheaper than you're paying Eskom, and that's wheeled through the grid. So we can offer solutions for big industrial customers all the way down to medium-sized customers. But the challenge is more than 70% of our demand is sitting behind the municipal wall, and the municipalities are a challenge, as we know. I mean, many of them have credit problems, and are they bankable? And then also the municipal business model is a challenge. Somewhere between 1/3 and 50% of a municipality's income is on profit on electricity. And if you take away their big customers, then these municipalities are going to start to collapse because they rely on this. So look, there's a systemic long-term change that needs to be made about the municipal income and finance.
Yeah.
That's not for me to solve.
Yeah.
But at the moment, our target customers are really big industrials and those players. And then there's an emergence of energy traders. I think there's comfortably between 10 and 15 energy traders. One that's been very much talked about recently is Discovery Green, part of the Discovery Group. And, you know, fundamentally, Discovery Green has got a great technology platform, and they're going to be able to take energy from IPPs like ourselves and then disseminate it to very small customers because of their tech platform. And that's going to allow where on our side, we need 15 to 20-year contracts for electricity to allow us to build the capital plants, whereas for Discovery Green, you can be a customer of theirs on a monthly basis. So we're seeing big industrials, we're seeing traders, and I think over the next 5 years, and particularly with the new national transmission company, we're going to start seeing a wholesale market for electricity that's really going to change things up.
Yeah.
And then we're going to see the pricing of Eskom's plants, and then July and I can have an arm wrestle around what are the true prices per kilowatt hour of a coal plant versus a wind plant versus a solar plant. But obviously we need balancing, etc., to make sure that we are delivering what the customers need at the end of the day. Is it peak energy? Is it 24/7? And this will be borne out as more energy efficiency programs are created, and also as the tariffing structure changes with regards to charging people more for peak electricity. At the moment, homes, we have a flat rate 24 hours.
Sure.
And that's absolute craziness, right? To get home and to charge your car at 6 p.m., whereas you can just press 3 buttons and charge it at 3 a.m., there's no disincentive at the moment for that.
Sure.
And that's what we need to get in this country, a little bit of that type of thinking in the policies, but the best way is to have a disincentive through tariff, where you're charged 7 times more to charge your car in evening peak.
So let's maybe just unpack that a little bit, because you talk about the role of, you know, regulators. You touched a little bit about municipalities and having to rethink the municipality model to make, you know, clean, green energy and players like yourself successful in supporting our energy transition journey. Could we maybe unpack what you think would be required or what would be needed from a stakeholder participation perspective to actually get the energy transition journey right? You know, there's going to have to be more than just Seriti Green and others trying to supply power into the grid, and there's going to be some kind of, you know, lobbying of various, you know, players from a regulator perspective to really create that conducive environment, right? So what do you see as kind of key things that we need from a stakeholder participation perspective?
Look, I think we can either go the top-down or the bottom-up approach on this. And if I speak about the bottom-up approach to start, we've had fantastic engagement with local municipality in the Geertsebande area of Mpumalanga. We've been adopted by local municipality. They are truly supporting us on the ground level, from the police captain to the fire chief. The mayor has a monthly meeting on our project alone. So from the bottom up, we are seeing that type of support. From the top down, fundamentally, I think it's around changing the municipal model, and this is going to take a long time. To change the income of municipalities, we're seeing it now right here in this municipality with City Power's 200 Rand a month charge. Municipalities have to start charging for infrastructure. If you're connected to the grid but not using a kilowatt hour, you still need to pay for your connection. Otherwise, why should you have that wire? Is City Power going to come and take the wire away from your house? So municipalities have to start moving to this type of capacity charge, but it's just not what we as citizens of this country are used to. So either you go totally off-grid, which is maybe a 5-6 times overbuild on your house, or we come...
for those who can afford it, right?
For those that can afford it, obviously. And then are we able to get to a capacity charge, whatever it is and however it looks like, as we go forward? I think NECOM, the engagement Mike's mentioned of energy with government, is working really well. The Energy Council is doing a good job of managing that. But I think what we're missing is that mid-tier engagement. At the top, there's full support. At the bottom, there's support. But when it tries to filter down, those policies and regulations aren't changing quick enough to support what we're trying to do. So...
And perhaps for you, Mike, as kind of a group, as an organization, What is your view around Seriti Resources as an organization playing a role in kind of helping bridge some of that gap?
Which gap? The stakeholders?
The stakeholder, yes. So that there's real, support and buy-in that can be secured there to support the full
Well,
transition journey.
you must remember, most of the stakeholders who look at what we're developing in terms of our strategy, the big question which Peter answered earlier was, be careful that these wind farms, as Seriti Green is building in Mpumalanga, we can't go back to the stakeholders and say, we will create 2,500 jobs, 5,000 jobs like we do in mining. Let's be clear about that. It will be
Yeah.
lesser jobs.
Yeah.
To the suppliers who operate in the area, they want to participate. They want to know what is it that I can add value to in terms of your value chain. Which role can I play? Traditionally, we've known of the coal mines. Now you've got Seriti Green. What is our role? Right now, we're busy with huge civil work on the ground. They participating. We're bringing in suppliers from the local communities. Then comes the communities themselves who are saying, we are used to seeing a power station, which is, when you look at Seriti Green, we've got Tutuga Power Station, the nearest township is Sakile, and then we've got a mine called New Denmark. Suddenly things change, we've got Seriti Green.
Yeah.
What is our role as a community?
Yeah.
We need to take along all those stakeholders, communities, people who are suppliers, people who are looking for jobs, and there are interested parties who are saying, from an environmental point of view, what impact are you going to cause?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is why Peter is taking that journey to ensure that we walk the path with people, and we have to be honest. That is why the first honesty is to be able to say, I'm not going to create 3,000 jobs,
Yeah.
which you normally create if you were to build a coal mine. Let's be clear on
Yeah.
that one. So
Yeah.
we're taking along all our stakeholders,
Yeah,
yes.
all right. And maybe just to touch on a point that you made earlier, Peter, around some of your staff that are working on the build of the wind farms are actually from the mining community or the miners from the traditional business. What has the appetite been for kind of reskilling to actually participate in something new, like working on a wind farm project?
It's difficult for you to ask this in front of my chairman, because he keeps telling me to stop stealing his staff.
Yeah.
The appetite is huge. I was underground at Kutala 3 weeks ago, Mike, and walking along the spine conveyor, and the team there, they're experts in rotating equipment. And what's the real difference between that and a wind turbine if you have the cross-skilling? So I have emails in my inbox of people from a spine conveyor now wanting to move into the wind turbine sector. So we've seen huge interest.
Yeah.
We're going to be building in the Ermelo, Bethel, Morganson area for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And a lot of those engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, civil engineers, can come out of the mining sector and move across. In addition, Secunda is 25 kilometers away. So we have all that fantastic infrastructure that Sasol has built up over decades that we are now having people come across from Secunda and start working on our wind farm. Their kids can stay in school.
Yeah.
Their spouses can continue with their jobs.
Yeah.
You're not uprooting them. So we have a fantastic opportunity to be just and to bring these jobs across. And Mike has said it, I have said it. We're not going to replace all of them.
Yeah, yeah. All right. And then for you, Mike, just thinking about, the future of Seriti Resources. You spoke about investing in new operations. What are some of the opportunities that you see on the horizon? There's Seriti Green that you've invested in, and there's the operations as well. What are some of the other, if you were to take us into your confidence and share a little bit of your secret wish book list of things that you want to do
Well,
with Seriti?
I'm still bullish coal, and I'd like to build 2 coal mines in Mpumalanga, and we're busy with that licensing process, because I still believe that we can create value, we can create jobs, and we can come up and assist with development and the future of the business. Our business is structured well, that is, we've got a good shareholding structure, where shareholders understand that money must be spent in the business. So that's the first opportunity. The second one, what Peter is doing with Seriti Green, the 900 megawatts we've announced and spoken about, it's not the end. We're seeking more opportunities. Peter is looking for opportunities in terms of solar. Peter is looking for opportunities in terms of battery technologies. we are not going to relax when it comes to the renewable space. Worried about the criticism that we are greenwashing. We don't waste time on that. Otherwise, we'll be fatigued with debates. We want to do things and make things happen. So those are the opportunities for us. We are seeing ourselves. 5 years from now, if you asked me, I would tell you that now we are a fully fledged energy business and energy company, and we are participating in the entire energy value chain. Yeah.
Okay, that's quite an inspiring
So-
picture of the future.
Can I quickly test with the audience? I asked you earlier, whether you think the industry, when they talk about going from coal to energy, is bullshitting us or not? And 63% of the audience said they don't buy it, it's greenwashing. I would be surprised if we still vote like that when you speak Seriti specifically. And I'm not influencing you, but can we quickly put a yes/no question up? I'm also getting too many questions, so I have to stop
Okay.
them. I have to get them off their bloody iPads and phones. So go back to the poll, and let's do a quick yes/no question. So do you agree with the statement? So let me frame the statement, and I always mess it up, because, in Afrikaans we've got a double negative, and when I state the question in English, nobody gets it. So I'm trying to, how can you vote? Who's one idiot? You can't take your vote
Well,
back.
now you can make the right question.
Peter, well done for voting before. I haven't asked the question, people, stop. My question is, do you think that Seriti is greenwashing when they state that they're an energy company, not just a coal company? Yes or no? Do you think that Seriti is greenwashing when they state that they're an energy company, not just a coal company? Yes or no?
Well, they have to be nice because they're sitting here, so.
Hey?
They have to be nice because they're sitting right here.
This is the thing with
This is the coal
Anonymous. This is
sector.
like Twitter. I can be an asshole. But Elon Musk is an asshole regardless of whether he's on Twitter or not. No. So, did I say that publicly? I don't think I said that. So again, we start a conversation, we have a view, we allow a conversation to take place, we engage with a topic, and to some extent that's what platforms like these are for.
Yes.
That's why robust conversations are for. And of course, Seriti is not necessarily a generic representation of the space. They're a specific case. I'm not surprised. I would have been surprised if the Seriti story wasn't as credible as it is. The journey to an energy company is clearly landing well.
Yeah.
I've got 1,000 questions, but you've got a bit of time left after I stole some of your time. Thank you, Darby.
Actually,
Thanks,
can I add something, Bernard, along those lines? This Friday morning, 26th, I'm taking somebody underground to the mine, and the reasoning behind it, I'm taking that person to New Denmark collieries. They never understood the whole concept of underground mining. From there on, I'm driving them to Seriti Green site to show them
How
what
powerful
we're
is
doing,
that?
how powerful
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
And right as we speak, Peter will tell you now, in the ship from Brazil, the transformers are in the ship. In 3 weeks' time, they'll be here. That's how we operate. That's the ethos that I've driven in all our businesses, that we don't talk, we approve things at the board, it takes us an hour probably, and we act. Okay? We act. After acting, we'll apologize if we make a mistake. So the transformers are on the road. If the board turns around and say, Mike, the transformers are in Mpumalanga, very soon they'll be coming through, I don't know, I'm right, Mpangeni, Tunzini, Pongola, Piet Retief, Emelo,
Yeah.
Betal.
Yeah.
We put them in there.
Yeah. I think, so we've got a couple of minutes left, right? And Mike, you've given an inspiring view on Seriti as an organization and the investments that you're looking to make in coal, in the coal industry, as well as the work that Peter's doing with Seriti Green. Just want to give the last minute to Peter, if you wouldn't mind. What are you most looking forward to, Peter?
Retirement.
Before retirement, what are you looking forward to achieving most with Seriti Green as an organization?
Yeah, look, diversifying the energy mix across the continent. So we're operating in Kenya, Tanzania. We've got interests in Mozambique and South Africa. And I think what I'm most excited about there is one line to be built between Zambia and Tanzania, and then you can sell an electron from Cape Town to Cairo. And, you know, I think that is an important step forward as we start looking at an African energy mix
Yeah.
rather than a very small myopic energy mix. Obviously, Eskom is the gorilla in the room, 42 gigawatts. You know, Tanzania, Kenya, they're each kind of 2 gigawatts.
Yeah.
So we've got a gorilla in the room. You know, and I think as we move forward over the next 3 to 4 years, there's going to be a huge swathe of construction in the Free State, in Mpumalanga, in Limpopo, and this is all going to bring a really diversified energy mix to South Africa.
Yeah.
We also got some mega projects going on, plus gigawatt renewable projects around the country, and really growing this. You can go to the JSE and look at construction share prices. Steph stocks up 140% last month, right? And a lot of that is on the back of the government sentiment and then infrastructure.
Yeah.
And if we can get those skills back here, in Northern Queensland, the Wind Lab project, the main language spoken in Northern Queensland is Afrikaans, right? We need the skills back here. We need those people to come here, skill our people so we can build renewables here, and that we can supply the whole of Africa these electrons.
Toby, thank you.
It's red now, so I have to hand over to
overruling you because the color red flashed there. I've got so many questions. I'm going to ask for short answers, please. There's a question that came twice, once addressed to Mike and once addressed to you, Peter. The President signed the climate change bill into law today. Is opening new coal mines compatible? The other question is more generically, what does it mean for you? So perhaps briefly from the both of you, what does the new law mean for you?
Well, if the bill is signed, at the end of the day, you're still going to need an energy mix. It's not going to be, the debate is not about renewables or, it's going to be compatibility of the different energy mixes. So coal will still have a place. And remember, some of the coal mines are becoming old and depleted and they're closing. We will replace those coal mines. We're not going to end up with 80% coal domination. We're probably going to end up at 40% or so. And the others will be taken by renewables. So we'll remain active with that mix.
Peter, you want to add?
Yeah, Bernard, one of the important things in the mining sector are mine closure certificates, which are more rare than unicorns, right? And by deploying renewables on mines where there's rehab land, there's a huge opportunity for us to move the mining and the renewable sector forward. And hopefully this bill will assist us in doing so.
A very specific question, and there are many specific questions. I'm trying to filter the ones that I think is of broader interest, of my interest in. Do you think it's, Peter, this has to be for you probably, do you think it's cost effective to build battery storage in South Africa when hydro pump storage is far cheaper, giving our unique geographical natural endowment? So quite a few statements in the question, but do you think we should be building other batteries or just more hydro power storage?
We need both, Bernard. I think one needs to look at the energy mix again. I think batteries play an important role from a short term and from a balancing perspective, particularly where you can put it at the demand side of the energy mix. But the environmentals on hydro are particularly difficult, right? We're a water scarce country as well. So where we do have an endowment of hydro, we should do it, but batteries are going to be far quicker to deploy.
There's quite a few conversations around the grid and grid capacity, where that fits in with renewable energies. Is there adequate collaboration right now between the industry, whatever, industry at large, the renewable energy industry and Eskom? Do we know who's responsible?
James McKay can talk on that later from an Energy Council perspective. Fundamentally, we have a struggle in building transmission. But one of the challenges we have, Bernard, is the EAF, if you take the Teke power station, last year was 17%. Yes, Eskom's holding the grid infrastructure at 100%. So where do we start freeing up some of that grid infrastructure and allow that into renewables? So there needs to be more collaboration, but fundamentally Eskom needs to build more grid. They delivered 54 kilometers last year. It's not good enough.
Mike, this is a question to Seriti Green, but I want to make it broader than that. So I'm going to put it just to you as the chair of Seriti Green and the mining company. To which extent does Seriti Green, but I really think this is for the mining industry, intend to localize sourcing, of the renewable energy inputs such as solar panels. But I mean, localizing, the new minister of the DTIC speak again, passionately. Is this not a low-hanging fruit for our economy?
Well, as a start, the first phase that, Peter, we're starting now. I think it's late for us. Obviously, we're bringing a lot of wind turbines, blades and the like, the transformers. There's a huge opportunity, Bernard. It's low-hanging fruit, it's true. Can we set up factories here? Can we set up structures and infrastructure to develop most of those products here? Yes, there's a huge opportunity, I agree.
When we were in London, Rowe, the CEO of the ICMMMMMM or something, yeah, that one, he's made a very good speech. And one of the things he said is, in our conversation with people outside the mining industry, we should tell them one thing about our company that they would not have expected to hear from a mining company. One thing we do. Mike, you do such magical things, and I'm aware of some of them, but I'm in the industry. If you met that young cynical guy that July spoke about, what's the one thing you could tell him about Seriti that he would say, I didn't
I'll
expect
tell
that of a
him that
mining
Seriti has a face.
Sorry?
Seriti has a face. It's real. Whatever you put into
It's a pity it's your face,
Yeah.
I would say, off the cuff. But again, it's just not for me to say those
just
things.
quickly, one thing that has really surprised me as a newbie to Seriti is the amount of liters of water that we manage on a daily basis. 40 million liters of water is managed by Seriti on a daily basis. And that for me is just something that you never expect.
There's so many questions about communities and stakeholders, and I do think your questions perhaps overtook some of these questions. Mike, $200 per ton of coal to export market, is that a realistic view? When are we getting there?
If before COVID I said to somebody coal will go to $400, probably they would have said I smoked something, right? I wouldn't be able to tell right now. We're sitting at $110 a ton, and I'm saying 200. It depends on what's happening in the East, especially Southeast Asia, the Japanese, China, the other countries within that area. Demand, I think, they will increase in that area, and depending what happens with the winter in Europe as well, we don't know what the reaction would be. But I still believe that coal has an opportunity to go back to those numbers. Yes.
So we're getting to logistics later, and we've got Transnet, as always, represented, so we'll put some of the tough questions directly to them. You made a statement that perhaps we should just let management be in place long enough to implement some of the things. As an outsider, I hear concerning conversations that, Transnet's rates are not cost reflective. It needs to treble to be cost reflective. But I don't hear a cost conversation in Transnet. I mean, you can't have 50,000 people doing what 5,000 should have done. I'm not saying that's true. And talk about cost reflect. This is what Eskom spoke about. Just up the prices, up the prices. That never solved the problem. So are we really yet with the right thinking in these parastatals? Is there still monopoly thinking?
To some extent, there is still that monopoly thinking. And there is the problem with monopolies, they tend to trap you in that paradigm, and you don't want to think beyond that. That is why I'm saying the partnership with us, to invite us in to assist. But two, the stability of leadership is important, Bernard. Because you can't have somebody coming in and then later they're out. I'd love them to be allowed to do that. The third important one is that these businesses, whether you call them state-owned entities, whether you call them utilities, they want capital. They are hungry for capital. And that capital is the one that will help the leadership to deploy it in the right way, to rebuild the rail, the signaling at Transnet, to get the locomotives running. We need so many locomotives. They need to be aggressive with that. And which areas, where do they create value most? The coal line is important for them. The Oryx line is important for them. How do we help them?
So, paraphrasing, they need your money, but will they listen to you? Will they also take your ideas?
I need their service, so they'll have to listen to me.
It is truly, it's meant to be a symbiotic relationship, not a competitive one.
Sure.
Peter, what I like about this conference is a lot of things I know get put simply back to me, and I think, oh, wow, of course. So for 50 years or whatever, we had a country that ran on a specific energy mix, coal dominant, base load, whatever that means. At night, there was surplus because the coal power stations run. As we changed, very few of those things hold true. What you highlighted for us, but the municipal funding model is built on the back of that. You know, us as customers don't care. We pay. We do everything when it suits us. Of course, industrial customers already pay winter tariffs and whatever, flexi tariffs and so on. So lots of other things need to change. Do you think as the renewable energy sector, you guys are realistic? So this is a system that was built for one. You want to come in and participate, but aren't those the costs that you should carry? I mean, if there's riots and revolts about higher rates between 6 and 9 when I want to watch TV. But this is a system change. This is not a fight between coal and renewables.
Yeah, Ben, I think at the end of the day, the consumer's going to pay, whether it's big industrial or you at home is going to pay. And if you're installing solar on your roof so that you're not using Eskom or your municipal's power, you're going to have to pay to be connected to the grid. And it's going to be a systemic change. We have to get to the point where we pay for capacity or don't be connected to the grid. And if the rain comes or the clouds come, then you're going to have no electricity. And if you want that backup, you're going to have to pay for it. So it's going to take some kicking and screaming, as is happening in the city of Joburg at the moment. But we've got to get to capacity charges to facilitate this infrastructural charge.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the questions. I apologize that I had to filter, but that's what I love. I love having more questions than time. And Seriti, you changed a few minds here today. Well done. Thank you very much for your input. Thank you.
Thank you.